Okay. I'm here with a guest today, and we're going to be talking about prioritizing friendships. Let's get into that. Hey, I'm Andrea Warnock, and you're joining me for Women Power Wednesday on the Marriage by Design podcast. Women Power Wednesday is a time where I get to talk to the ladies about what the Bible has to say to women, about women, for women, and just how we can apply the Bible to our lives. And today I'm here with my first guest on this the Wednesday show, and it's my mom. Her name's Paula. And just introduce yourself a little bit. Tell us just a little bit about you.
I'm Paula McMahon, and you've already met my daughter. I also have a son, and you've heard her reference him as well, Kevin, and 6 beautiful grandkids. Have a phenomenal husband who is my best friend, who is Andrea's dad as well.
Yeah, great, thanks. So I brought my mom in today to talk to us about prioritizing friendships. That's the topic for today. This month we've been talking about friendships in general. The first week we talked about friendships that we see in the Bible and what we can learn about those. And then the next week was our circles of friends. And then this week prioritizing. So my mom has a lot of friends, my mom and dad, but she's a woman, so I'm going to have her on the show today. She has a lot of friends, and she always has from the time that I can remember, and has always done a really good job of prioritizing friendships, making those things something that are important in her life, pouring into those. She has a lot of really great, amazing friends, and a lot that have been decades-long friendships. And so I feel like she is somebody who is really great as for wisdom on friendships, and somebody that we can learn a lot from. So I'm going to just ask you a few questions and kind of talk to you a little bit. So tell me so you grew up in a great home. Your dad was a minister, and your mom was somebody who totally supported that and was doing a lot of ministry with him too. So great home. I don't know that they prioritized friendships like I see you doing. So they had friends, just wasn't probably as prioritized. Right. So tell me when you came to kind of the understanding or the realization or whatever that friendships are really important and that they take a lot of investment and all that sort of thing.
Well, I think it was a gradual process, but I can remember especially times when I had little kids, you and Kevin were little, and I would have my to-do list, and I would, I'm very goal-driven, love crossing things off of my to-do list.
Yes.
And, it might be nap time, and I'd get a call from a friend, and I don't have time for this. And God convicting me of, yes, you do have time for this. And spending the time and maybe blowing the whole nap time and not getting my list done. And then God would come back around and say, you need to do this with this friend. And it's God, but you see my list lately? How am I going to get all that done? Because I was also working part-time.
Yep.
And God
doing ministry.
Yeah, doing ministry.
Kids. Yep.
Yeah. And God continually taught me, hey, your priorities are not my priorities. And your to-do list is not more important than the relationships that I have for you.
That's great.
And so learn that he had to do some kicking every once in a while. But the rewards have been phenomenal from listening to him and obeying him. And making friendships priorities. That doesn't mean that the house is a mess and the kids never had a meal or anything like that. And I was always out with my friends.
Definitely not. I don't remember that being the case ever.
Yeah. But there were definitely, God put ministry with friends in place, and sometimes blessings for me that I hadn't even expected to get by letting go of what I thought my priorities should be.
Cool.
and spending time with people.
Yeah. So kind of a process for you.
It was a process, and still can be just a little bit, not quite as bad,
Yeah.
not quite as much as all,
Sure.
because there's more margin now.
Yeah.
But still, every once in a while, I can hear him tapping at my shoulder.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
How do you practically prioritize? I mean, I heard you talk about sometimes letting your to-do list go and all that sort of thing, but practically, how are you prioritizing friendships? Because as believers, we know our priorities should be God first,
Absolutely.
and then our spouse, and then our family, and then kind of everything after that. So how do you do that practically?
Well, sometimes ministry and friendships can mix. And I can remember when we were in ministry and teaching and mentoring teachers, sometimes you would use the opportunity to teach and minister to also form those friendships. So it was a combination of, hey, we need to plan this lesson out. We need to walk through scripture, and we also need to have some fun while we're doing that. Yeah. And so you form that relationship in that way, ministry-wise. There was a lot of times that you all went along with us.
Right. And we had friendships because of that. So my parents had several groups of really close friends that then the kids would all hang out. And it was great.
Yeah.
And in fact, one of my very fond memories when I was growing up is almost every Friday we got together with this group of people, 4 or 5 couples that had kids, so 4 or 5 different families, and we'd go out to pizza every Friday night, and then we'd go over to somebody's house, and the adults would play cards and the kids would play. And I have such great memories, and we had friendships from that.
Yeah. And those are the people that are in your lives even now.
Yep.
That maybe you don't see them a ton, but our friends, I mean, the adults that were in your life at that point would do anything for you, even right now.
Right.
So
and have.
Yeah, and have. Yeah, and we have done that for their kids.
Yep.
And would.
Yep. Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember maybe a year ago, I was super stressed out. Nathan was traveling, and one of your friends came over to my house and did laundry and random things just because it was a day that was, I don't know, it was just really hard. And I think
you had chicken pox.
Oh yeah, we had chicken pox at the house. Oh my gosh, yes, that was a mess.
And we were
traveling.
We were out of town.
And so one of her friends came over, and just things like that.
Yeah.
Lots of prayer support that I know that we've gotten from her friends and encouragement in really hard times. Yes. So yeah, hers and my dad's friends have been very influential in my life.
Yeah. And I think it's so good to model that for your kids and what do good friendships look like.
Totally.
And what a ministry to friends look like.
Yep. So you did friendship in ministry sometimes. You did friendship along with the kids. Brought the kids into that. Anything else that's kind of practical prioritizing?
I would say, sometimes there's friends that you meet at a park with the kids and they aren't quite as involved as maybe that other, but you can still take the kids along. You can meet them, you can get to know them, you can pack a lunch, have a lunch with them on a picnic table. We did that. I'm also pretty intentional about my friendships in that if I run into somebody and they say, I haven't seen you forever, we should get together. Well, the cool thing now is that everybody has their calendar with them. And so I'd say...
It's not like the dinosaur days when you had your paper calendar at home on
a lot harder back then.
Wall.
Yes. And so let's get a date on the calendar. And so we do that. Now that doesn't mean that date may not work out, but you at least have a starting place, and then you have a contact point. Okay, something came up. This date isn't going to work. Can we reschedule? Right. But you've got it started.
Right.
And now what we're doing is when friends come over that we know we want to continue to get together with, but if we don't set something, it's probably going to languish. Before they leave, we say, hey, can we get something on the calendar in a couple months?
Yep.
And we just immediately put something on the calendar before they leave the house or before we leave their house to say, let's get together again.
That's great. Yeah, that's definitely one thing I've learned from you. Probably not something that you like intentionally taught me, but that I think I've watched and just learned is just being intentional and saying, yeah, let's set the date.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
What else was I going to ask? Do you feel like, this may feel like a strange question. Do you feel like you've lost out on anything by prioritizing friendships? And the reason I ask that is because vice versa. People that don't prioritize friendships often feel like, I'm so busy, I have all this stuff going on, I can't give to friendships very much, I can't get together, I just can't have friends, or are sad because they don't have friends because so much of life is going on or whatever, and they feel like they've lost out on friendships. And in fact, we know a decent amount of people who are my parents' age who really regret the fact that they haven't invested in friendships over the years, because they're finding that now it's really hard to find those close friends, and they don't have those friends that have decades worth of history between the two of them, because they just didn't invest in that. Because at my age, it is busy. Life is busy, and there's a lot going on, and I don't know that ever really changes. It just looks different. I mean, now my parents are retired, and they're just as busy as when they were working and had kids at home. It just looks different. They're probably doing more of what they want to do than what they have to do. But if you're not choosing to make friends a priority, you're losing out on that.
You're right.
Do you feel like you've lost out on anything by making your friends a priority over the years?
I would say I lost out on probably some sleep. There's a financial impact at times with friends. And I lost out on my priorities and me keeping my priorities. And that loss was a good thing. And that was a God thing, and that needed to go. So those are probably the biggest losses I had, and those are not bad losses. Those are the one especially was an awesome loss, because I needed to give that up. That needed to be sacrificed. I would tell you that the blessings have far outweighed anything that I could come up with as far as a sacrifice. Because yes, I make friends a priority, but when I walk through some really hard times, my friends are who came around and walked through with me. I've always said my friends at my Prozac, we all go through really tough times in our lives. There's nobody that's immune from that. And we had some pretty tough times for a while. And we have a couple friends who are physicians, and had one of them say, do you need something to help you get through this? Nope. As long as my friends are around, I am so good. And I know my Savior is as well. But I mean, when my friends come around, that's what I need. And so the blessings that we have received far, far outweigh any sacrifice that I may have made.
Yeah, and coming from a family that prioritized friendships and did a lot with a lot of different friends. I mean, my parents they've always had a lot of friends, some that they chose to have closer to them, and some that were not as close, and that was great. But they did a lot of ministry and a lot of friendship. But I never felt like, as a child, I lost out. So
good.
So if you're thinking, oh, but I won't be able to spend as much time with my kids, or we have to prioritize the kids or whatever. Yes, your kids are a priority over friendships, but that doesn't mean that you don't have friendships either. I mean, my brother and I benefited a lot from my parents' friendships, and as adults we've learned a lot from that too. And I never felt like I lost out on anything, and I'm being completely honest, because I think my parents were so intentional to always work at prioritizing their lives the way God has called us to, with God first, and spouse second, and family third, and then the rest of it. And I'm sure you would say you got those out of whack at times.
Yeah, and God would let me know they were out of whack at times.
And then they reworked it.
Yeah.
And as a kid, I never knew when those were out of whack, but I know you would say that they were. And, but your desire to always have that in priority, I felt very well cared for. I felt like I was prioritized above her friendships, but I knew friends were a high priority for her. And I learned so many lessons through that, and I gained a lot and learned a lot. And I saw my parents too pour out into other people, and so I was learning how to be a good friend through watching them as well. I mean, my mom talks about her friends being her Prozac and her friends being Jesus with skin on during those hard times, but they were also pouring into those, and that's why those friendships continued, because it's a give and take at times.
Well, and the really cool thing is, I think when you model that for your kids, then you can have that relationship with your kids. Mm-hmm. And I can honestly say that Andrea is one of my best friends.
For sure. It's true.
I love spending time with Andrea. Mm-hmm. We take a trip every year, try to make it just the two of us. Sometimes there's a little one that's tagging along.
Sometimes there's a nursing baby that inches their way into that trip.
And it's some of my favorite time of the year, because I get her to myself and we have a great time. So I see that as one of the outgrowths of modeling friendship.
Yeah. Tell me too how, I talked about this a little bit in, I think, the first week, but how have friends helped your marriage?
Oh, wow. My husband is my best friend, but he can't be everything to me. Christ is the only one that can be everything to me, but he's also given us friends to come alongside to walk with us through life. Yeah. He can't understand me as a woman like some of my friends may be able to understand me. And when he's, during those really hard times, for instance, he's having his own pain. He's even though we want to be able to be comfort for each other, and we are, he needs somebody to speak life into him in a different way than I need somebody to speak life into me. So, that's the great thing. Plus, he's a big golfer. I'm not yet.
Yes.
Yet.
He used to do hunting too with friends.
Yeah, he did hunting with friends, and I would do other things with friends, and we have plenty of things that we do together.
Yep.
But I think having those friendships and doing different things together with our friends individually, and then a lot of times what we'll do is the guys will go golfing, and then we'll have maybe 4 families together and have dinner at our house after golf. And so we get everybody together then, but then the guys that had their time together, and I think that is really good for them. And girls, we don't have any problems getting together.
Right. I love what you said though, that your friends, your husband can't be everything to you. And so as wives, we should be encouraging our husbands to have their friendships, because we're not everything for them.
No.
And husbands should be encouraging their wives. It shouldn't be like, what, am I not good enough? You have to have close friends? No, you're great, but I need friends too. Yeah. And that's a really great point, that as spouses, we should always be encouraging those great friendships and those deep friendships, and not having the pride of, I should be your whole world.
Yeah.
Yeah, such a great point. Anything else? You had a really great scripture that you wanted to talk about.
Proverbs. Find it here. You gotta love Proverbs.
Yes.
It's got such
great
wisdom. It says, this is Proverbs 27:10. It says, "Do not forsake your friend and the friend of your father, and do not go to your brother's house when disaster strikes. Better a neighbor nearby than a brother far away." And a couple things out of that verse. Do not forsake your friend. Obviously, we've talked about that. And the friend of your father. And just as we talked about the friends that Andrea saw us having and growing up with, she hasn't forsaken them. I don't think you even knew this verse was here.
Nope, not until today.
Yeah, but she hasn't forsaken them. Andrea makes an effort, along with Nathan. Nathan has also adopted those friends as his friends, and they are his friends. And we'll make an effort to get together with them, to see them, to check on them, etc., which is very cool, because
even just knowing what's going on in their lives, we care about that.
Yeah. And so I think that there is a group of friends out there potentially for your age group that y'all are missing. Because I love getting together with my friends' kids. And, they're grown, they have kids, finding out how they're doing, sewing into their lives, and just being a friend to them as well. So there may be a group that's missing out of there. But then I think the rest of the verse talks about, if we don't have friends at the time of a disaster, yes, family will probably always be there for you, but they may be too far away. They may not be able to be there. And it's always, we have what we call our 2 a.m. friends. And they are those friends that we know we could pick up the phone for any reason at 2 o'clock in the morning and say, I need help, I need prayer, whatever it is. And we know that they'd be there, they'd pick up. And same with us. We would pick up for any of those friends, or we'd pick up for any of our friends. But you have those friends that are just, you're so close to. A friend sticketh closer than a brother, and some of them are like a brother.
Yeah. Awesome. Anything else that you can think of you wanted to add?
It's worth sowing into friendships. But I would say, first of all, make sure your relationship with Christ is what it needs to be, and your relationship with a spouse is what it needs to be before you really start pursuing friends. Because you and I had talked when things weren't great in your life and friends were hard to come by.
Oh, man.
And I said, nobody likes to get on a sinking ship.
We were sinking.
They were sinking. But everybody likes to get on the party boat. So when your relationships are healthy, you will find friendships a lot easier to find.
Right. Yeah, and then when you're having times where your boat is sinking, those good friends stay on,
Yes.
But it is hard to find friends when you're a mess or whatever. So yeah, that's great encouragement to first do your relationship with the Lord. Have a great relationship with your spouse. Not that you can't seek friends if you don't have those good things, but we struggled with friends for a long time just because we were not healthy people. We didn't have a healthy marriage, and who wants that? Yeah. That's a great point.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us. I know you had to have learned a ton about prioritizing friendships. My mom is so great at that. So thanks for letting us talk to you about that. And then join us next week when I'm here talking about just practical ways to be a good friend. Thanks, and have a great day. Hey, thanks for joining us on Marriage by Design. If you were impacted by this video, like it by hitting the thumbs up below. Also, don't forget to subscribe, and once you subscribe, hit the bell icon so you can be notified when new episodes release.
Excellent. Also, one of the huge pillars of our show is interactivity between us and you. So we would love you to comment down in the comments below if you have thoughts about this video, or if you have questions or other things you'd like to see considered in the future. In addition, if you'd like, you can email us. That's marriagebydesignpodcast@gmail.com. We're also on Instagram @marriagebydesignpodcast, or you can find us on Facebook by searching Marriage by Design Podcast. Finally, if you want to, you can tweet at us. We do have a Twitter account that is @MarriageXDesign. Thanks, and have a great day.